All right.
How can just 15 minutes a day change your relationship with your hormonally challenged teenage daughter? My guest today teaches exactly that. In this episode, you'll learn just what the heck is going on in that teenage brain and how you can avoid the drama trap. She's the author of the award-winning bestseller, Dial Down the Drama, Reducing Conflict and Reconnecting with Your Teenage Daughter, a guide for mothers everywhere. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist and speaker. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce Colleen O'Grady. Hi, Colleen.
Hey, Patti. It's good to be here.
Well, I have one daughter also, and now you just have one daughter, or you have more than one?
I have one daughter.
You have one daughter?
She's enough.
Yeah. yes, I have one also, and a son, and I kind of think the daughters are a little tougher. A lot of people will say boys are tougher, but I think girls, when they're in those teenage years, is really tough. But I got to ask you, I'm really intrigued. What in the world can a mom do in just 15 minutes a day that would really like change the dynamics, better the relationship between the mother and daughter?
Right. So here's what they can do. It's really, really simple. And I would say maybe 20 years ago, this would have happened more naturally. But in our busy schedules, there is no downtime. And so often it's for moms, we're just kind of monitoring all the time. Moms can get stuck in being like a 24/7 monitor. Hey, we need to go to school, okay, you need to eat your breakfast. And when they come home from school, okay, so you better start your homework, you need to go to soccer, okay, you need to finish your homework, you need to eat, you need to go to bed. And there's really what I call the lost art of hanging out. And oftentimes, moms will try to talk to their kids when they're stressed out. And that's when moms get like kind of these one-word answers like, okay, whatever, no, I don't know. So moms, you can be kind of intentional about finding some, like even 15 minutes where your daughter is a little bit more relaxed and you just hang out. The good news, it does not cost you a ton of money. And a lot of times those ton of money shopping sprees ends up in a disaster anyway. You probably know what I mean. Mm-hmm. But so what it looks like is it starts with a positive distraction. And your daughter says something to you like, hey, Mom, look at this YouTube video, or listen to this song, or look at these shoes. Aren't they cute? Now, we can think, oh my gosh, you need to be doing your homework and that's such a waste of time. But if you just kind of hang there and just say, and look at the shoes or watch the video, that's a way that you're starting to build a bridge of connection. And then after that comes what I call, she spontaneously starts to open up. So if we take off that monitor hat where we're saying you need to do this, you need to do that, and we just are just there, not critiquing her, and she kind of knows it because we watched the video, and then she'll kind of say, hey, here's what happened today, and those are the golden moments. So she gets bored, and she'll be off to the next thing. But if you, what I can tell my parents is, if you make 15 minutes where you just are up to nothing but just being with your daughter and enjoying her, because often moms have this big old frown on their face because we're like, oh my God, look at your room. So in those 15 minutes, we're just, they're seeing mom enjoying life and having fun, and we're laughing at the stupid cat video, and we're building this little positive experience.
So it sounds like kind of really making a conscious effort to be present, at least 15 minutes a day where you're just relaxed. You're not in that mom mode of clean your room, do your homework, eat your vegetables, but really being present in whatever they want to talk about and then let them open up.
Yes, absolutely. And it's harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like, oh, that's so easy. But it's not when you're thinking, okay, have you even started to begin your homework? Or, your room, we cannot see your floor, there's towels on the floor. So it's harder. And sometimes these times come later in the evening when they've relaxed. Often they're not on mom's timetable. Because I remember taking my daughter to school, and I would think, okay, driving my daughter to school, this is a great time to connect with her. Mm-hmm. But she was super stressed because she was facing middle school drama and tests, so she didn't want to talk. So if I forced it, it would end up with her slamming the door and saying okay, whatever. So if I just chilled out, and usually I had opened up my computer and I was working on something, then she'd hop on the bed, throw the dog up there, and she'd kind of want to chat. So I started to learn that is the golden moment to shut the computer and just be present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can remember now, my daughter's now grown, and in fact, she's now a mom herself. She's got a 1-year-old and another one due soon. So, but I can remember she played travel sports. She played softball all the years growing up, and then gymnastics even prior to that. And I spent an awful lot of time in the car with her and on the baseball field, or softball field, I should say, with her. But that, that did lend itself to us having an awful lot of conversations because you're just with them a lot. And so you would eventually get to what you're talking about, just so relaxed. You're looking at some stupid video or you're doing whatever. Or I used to catch for her too. So in fact, I've got seven stitches above one eyebrow from a ball I didn't catch. But that really gave us something in common too. Do you advise your clients to have something that you can do specifically together, like build something, make crafts, whatever, play sports or play musical instruments or anything
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Anything that just the idea behind it is that you are there's multifacets to your relationship with your daughter. And where I see it becomes a problem is when your relationship gets kind of diminished to that just one facet of being the 24/7 monitor. So I'll tell my moms when I'm speaking is I said, can you imagine if you're out with your best friend and you said, you know what, you need to wash your hair. Why are you wearing that shirt? You better not eat that dessert.
Mm-hmm.
You probably wouldn't want to go out with that friend again.
No.
So it's.
I do have some friends like
that. So that's maybe why some girls are hiding in their rooms because they don't want to be picked on. But if you show a different side to her, that you do share, my daughter and I actually share a lot of. We both enjoy the same music. And so she'll say, listen to this song, and I really like it. So if it's tossing the ball or playing basketball or whatever it is, I mean, it could be just looking at shoes. Mm-hmm. But it's something that she sees that you're she sees you as a human being, and you're this this kind of fun adult. Mm-hmm. So yes.
And even I noticed as my daughter got to high school age, she was really into makeup and really is quite good at, knowing a lot about makeup and that kind of thing. And she would teach me things so that I wasn't stuck in kind of doing the same makeup all the time, you know what I mean? Or just never really progressing with whatever, with makeup brands and trends and stuff. And so is that something also to maybe, is there, kind of have something that whatever they excel in and they can teach you? Is that something that you ever talk about with, clients or your daughter?
Yes. So it's receiving, being able to receive from them. And they love it. My daughter it's Mom, oh my gosh, your eyebrows or something. And
that's a big one. I've had that
too. But it's helpful. And I think they love it when I'm oh my gosh, I never even noticed that. Or, so it's fun. Again, they're helping you. Another thing is being curious about their world, and where they can kind of teach you about the adolescent culture. And so they'll tell you quite a bit if you're curious and not judgmental. And what is it really like for them in high school? What's it like sitting in lunch? What's it like, and the whole digital world, and you can use what's different, like, for example, I didn't grow up with Instagram, and so what's it like seeing your friends at a party that you haven't been invited to and continuing to see these pictures?
Mm-hmm.
So they can teach you, like, what are the norms of the high school, and if they sense that you're really curious, that's also building kind of this bridge of connection, which is crucial for these teenage years.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. One thing I would say that a lot of my work is based on neuroscience, and in my book is very mom friendly, but the principles are really based on research. And when you understand things like what's really going on in that teenage brain, it really informs your parenting, and it informs how to connect with your daughter. So the kids today are really stressed out. A lot of times they're emotionally flooded, and a lot of that, yes, is because of that teenage brain. But it's also that we live in a really stressful culture. And if your kids are emotionally flooded, meaning, what I mean by that is they have a flood of emotions of either anxiety, stress, fear, depression, anger. They are in the lower brain, and they are in the stress brain of fight, flight, freeze. So they can't, this is when you get the one-word answers. They're not going to be opening up to you because they're stressed out. When you are emotionally flooded in the lower brain, you are offline from the higher brain, which is when you see someone who's in their whole brain, they're very pleasant. When you see someone who's emotionally flooded, that's when you tend to see drama girl.
Do you feel that teenage girls today are more stressed out than, say, you or I were at the same age? Do you feel that things have changed?
Yes, I not only feel that. What I've noticed is I've been a marriage and family therapist for 25 years, and so years ago, the parents would drag their kids in because they snuck out of the house and went to see their boyfriend and drank some. Now I get a lot of girls coming in because of anxiety. And the research that's really alarming is it says 1 out of 3 teenage girls will experience significant anxiety, and 2 out of 5 girls will experience depression. And the statistics are a lot higher for girls than boys. The boys are a lot lower. So this rise of anxiety in teenage girls and rise of depression is this culture. So yes, it's different.
And so what are the factors? Is it because of the online social media with comparing themselves to other girls, or not being invited to a party that they can see online, or cyberbullying? What are all the causes of why are they so stressed out compared to when I was a kid? I'm just curious. I understand what you're saying, and I believe it. I believe that I have a lot of nieces now that are teenagers, and I've never heard the word anxiety more than I do today. People say it all the time. Oh, I'm going to have an anxiety attack. Oh, I'm, whatever. And it's like, wow, why are you so stressed out? But why is that? Is there one thing in particular?
I think there's 3 things. And I think the 3 things are, one is that we don't have downtime. And downtime, the kids are scheduled like all the time. So that they start their homework at 8 o'clock, and then they do their homework, and then they still want to have their friends, so they're trying to talk to their friends. So there is no time to just chill out and relax. And that is the body's natural way to relax, is downtime, where there's no pressure, you don't have to accomplish anything, like just hanging out in the neighborhood. That's not happening. So that's why a lot of times the drug of choice in high schools are things like Xanax, because they're trying to find a way of chilling out. So they're overscheduled, lack of sleep. Then I think, yes, the research has shown that social media has been a big contributor to that. And I think girls are more sensitive to that in terms of social stuff. I can't tell you how many girls I work with. I mean, like, we can't even imagine, because we didn't grow up in that culture, but like when I was in high school, I had maybe a feeling maybe I was left out of a party, but I didn't know for sure. And I sure didn't have a, like, every 10 minutes in my face reminder of what I was missing.
Yeah, true.
With them all doing hugs and like, whoa, all their selfie pictures.
Yeah.
So it's that. But I think a huge one for girls is we have a culture, there's the pressure to be perfect. And these moms feel it. Moms, we feel it. That's why, like, those movies like Bad Mom, like, which are stupid movies, but why moms will laugh a lot, because it shows that pressure to be perfect and how absurd it is. Like, you can't just bring, cupcakes. They have to be gluten-free to the little bake sale. It's just the pressure on moms to look a certain way, and their house, their hair, the partner, how all it looks is so important. And if moms feel that, and they kind of unconsciously pass that pressure down to their daughters, and they want to have a perfect daughter, and a perfect daughter who doesn't do anything really embarrassing that would make them look bad, like if they got caught with weed at school, that would be terrible. Or they've got to have the right friends, they have to have the right hair, the right look, the right grades, and these kids feel that pressure to be perfect. And these girls, and I'm sure you remember with your daughter, I mean, how long they can stay in front of the mirror to make sure their hair is just like right, and the makeup to be perfect.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on, let's go. And they look in the mirror a lot to make sure their outfit looks just right. And even so, sometimes it looks like they might not care about their grades, but that's like, procrastination really could be perfectionism in disguise, because they feel like they can't get it right, so they kind of put it off. Girls will tell me, I remember I had one girl come in and she said, so we could do sports and maybe not be the superstar, or the ballet person has to be the superstar, or the musical, but we have a culture for kids that you have to be superstars. So a lot of kids will stop doing sports because they can't be that competitive with it, and they'll stop. One girl said, I don't sing anymore because I can't sing like Taylor Swift. So the expectations are so high. I had a girl who was a freshman who said, she had so much pressure about her grades that she felt like, well, F this, because I already made a C, and I can't make it in college because I've already blown it.
Wow.
Like, I had a girl who would put Post-it notes in the shower stall when she was a senior, because she felt like she couldn't and she was studying off these Post-it notes. Like, she couldn't even take a shower without doing something.
Wow.
So these girls feel this pressure, and so they compare themselves to other people, and so then your friendships become about ranking. Who's the most popular one? Who's the most beautiful one? And so if I'm a little bit fatter than her, then I'm worthless. And so I think it's a combination of cultural messages, and then these teen girls are vulnerable anyway with where they are in their brain development and with hormones. So it is rough. There was a Netflix series that was very controversial called 13 Reasons Why, which was about, the main character was a girl who killed herself, committed suicide, and her 13 reasons why she did it. And this was so popular with teenage girls, like starting with like 10-year-old girls. They would stay up all night binge watching like 12 episodes of the series. And it just tells you a little bit of it got into kind of how girls feel judged, the date rape, the bullying, all of that.
It's so interesting what you're saying, because I have been thinking to myself, God, some of my nieces that are so drama-filled, and I remember when my daughter was, she's 27 now, but my nieces, and I look at them and I think, God, what kind of problems they have? They live in nice homes, they have great parents, they have, all these things, all the technology, blah, blah, blah. So I have often thought, God, just kind of disgusted by it. And now you are shedding a little more light as to, a lot of things that are going on with them, as to the pressure. And I think the pressure you're even talking about with the girls, you're right. Even women, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, a lot of them are feeling that same pressure too anymore, because we also are on social media and see, oh, so-and-so got a new car, new house, new whatever's going on with them. We're feeling that kind of a little bit of that pressure. And when I was, when I was a kid, we did play kickball out in the street. Now I was one of a boatload of kids, so I had built-in friends with all my siblings, but we used to we would play outside. My mom would say, go out and play, and we'd go out and play until it was dark, or at least till dinner, and then we'd go back out and play until it was dark. And it was just that's what you did. It was like you're describing, relaxing, a relaxing time, and you didn't have all that same pressure you're talking about that these kids, I guess, really do feel.
Yes. Yeah. So a couple other things about this is, at the core of the pressure to be perfect, first of all, since no one can be perfect, that's going to set you up to not feel really great about yourself. And then we have that what I call it, kind of the sneaky mean voice that says like, and then this is the lower brain that says, well, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're fat, you're a loser. And so these are the messages that these girls are that's their self-talk. And at the core of that, the core of feeling like you can't be perfect is shame. And why people feel pressure is they're trying to avoid judgment. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to be judged by their friends. The mothers don't want to be judged by other mothers. And because we fear judgment, we feel this pressure so that we won't be a target. Mm-hmm. And that's what these girls, in front of the mirrors forever are, and we're like, are you kidding me? You look perfect. But they don't want to be judged. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting is that this is a huge problem for the affluent. It's not. It's you think kids who have everything, who've got a lot of money. I work with a lot of. This is not just my opinion. This is research. Because there's expectations. If you go to that private school, there's a lot of money. The competition is even higher. And then the competition never ends because, like, we'll just take body image, like maybe you're at the top of the school, but you maybe not look like that supermodel. So it doesn't play fair. Mm-hmm. So I really, Brene Brown's work is so like important that deals with the shame and stuff. So it's really, girls are biologically hardwired to be imperfect. That's normal. Mm-hmm. And so if moms, if we can give them a message, like, it's really okay that you make a mistake because you're not going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You make a C, it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. So how do you advise parents, how do you advise moms to teach their daughters to love their bodies, to love themselves, and to not expect that they have to be perfect when they walk out the door, whatever, perfect in school? Are there tips that you give moms in order to help them with their self-esteem?
Yeah. Well, here's what's interesting is that our girls are really influenced by us. Like, we are the model. And a lot of times they won't listen to, our advice that we're giving them, our mother lecture. They kind of blow that off. But they are watching how we, treat ourselves. They watch how we treat others. So if you as a mom, say, God, look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh my gosh, I'm so fat. You're not modeling anything, that's not a great thing that you're modeling for your daughters. But if you model kind of grace for yourself and you make a mistake and you kind of laugh about it and you use humor and you show it's not the end of the world, that models something really powerful. Telling, now you have to be careful with this, but, telling your daughter, something where you kind of made a mistake, mm-hmm. Can be helpful. Like, you never want to say, oh yeah, I was addicted to alcohol in high school, because that like gives them permission to do it. Mm-hmm. But if you say, yeah, I made a C in Spanish because actually I made a D in Spanish in high school because my friend was from Cuba and we cut up the whole time and she made an A and I made a C. So I'll tell some kind of funny stories, but that she sees that you're real. It's not the end of the world, that you got back up, that you tried again. Teaching them just to do something even if because you love it. You can do sports just because you love it. You can sing because you can love it. And you modeling that can be really helpful. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think giving really specific encouragement can be helpful. So if you say, "Oh, you're just great," or "You're just fine," that's not really helpful. But like complimenting, like how you worked so hard. Like you just every night you pulled that book out. You worked hard and you studied and you gave it your all. I am so proud of you. Where it's not based on result. Mm-hmm. Is really helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be, just really reinforcing. Like you said, I think that's really so true. That moms, I think sometimes, and dads will be thinking, that the child isn't listening because they shut down when you start going into the mommy lecture of whatever. But like you said, I think that's so true that they're watching you. They're watching, every move you make. Even if they're not saying anything, they're paying very much attention to how you're living your life, and you're setting that. You're the first teacher, really.
Yeah. So if parents, and I totally get it. I mean, my daughter was 11. I had been a marriage and family therapist for 14 years, and she so pushed my buttons, and I just lost it. And I'd been a youth minister for 10 years. Thousands of teens thought I was the coolest ever, like guitar, and I thought it would be so easy for me. And so I said, oh my gosh, it's really easy to lose it. And so the thing that scared me back then is when I looked in her eyes, I saw I'd become the enemy, and I didn't want to alienate my own child, and so my work, my book, it's really about turning things around so that we parent in a powerful way by being intentional and not just being reactive. So often, parents will lose it because the teen did the eye roll, slammed their door, was sassy, lied. But if we lose it, we're again modeling to our children. Even if we lose it and give a good mother lecture, all they're going to hear is that we lost it. Mm-hmm. They hear that we lost control, we lost self-control. So one of the biggest gifts that we can give our kids is maintaining our own self-control.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think, for anybody, regardless of mother daughters. I know you gave a TED talk, a TEDx talk in Wilmington, right?
Yes.
For those who aren't familiar, a TED talk or a TEDx talk, it's like what, about 15 minutes? Is that about the time frame of? Can they be longer than that? I was thinking they're all about 15 minutes.
But they can be from 5 to 20 minutes.
And they're just like, for people who aren't familiar, they're on really technology, education, design, business, things like that. So what was your TED Talk about? I was just curious about that, because I know there's a tremendous amount of work.
Yes. Well, yes. You're so right. Well, it really was about getting that downtime in your everyday life, and through hanging out, through spontaneous check-ins, positive distractions, and also calming emotions and you calm down conversations. So this is all the 15 minutes a day, taking a break, some downtime. And because I think you want to have natural ways to de-stress, natural ways to kind of calm down. And if we can make our homes places where kids can kind of actually relax, too often our homes are places that they've had stress all day at school, and then there's so much tension at home that they can't relax either. And we're setting our kids up for Xanax if we do that. So we want to have playfulness, laughter in our homes.
Mm-hmm. That's just really, really good advice, because there's so much of that Xanax and anti-depression medication out there, and a lot of the also the ADD, and it's just so much of our kids, it seems like, compared to, when I was growing up, I don't remember hardly anybody being on anything. I never knew of anybody taking anything that was prescribed, unless they had some kind of serious medical issue. But well, just to wrap up, because I wanted I could literally talk to you all day about this, because I'm sure you have so much information, and I just want people to know how they can find you, if you could let us know. And I think you have some great free content that's available for people if they'd like to access it. So can you share some of that, of how people can reach you and get that content?
Sure. You can go to my website, which is ColleenOgrady.com, and that's 2 L's, 2 E's, Ogrady .com. And I have some great resources for you. So I have a Dial Down the Drama triple pack. So
nice. I'm sure a lot of people really need that.
So I give you a free chapter of my book, Dial Down the Drama, and I have a weekly e-zine called Power Your Parenting, Reconnect with Your Teenage Daughter, and Reclaim Your Life. And each week I have a really great article that's really helpful, and that's free. And then I have an ebook called 7 Ways to Help Your Teenager and Yourself. So all of that's for you. And I know I talk a lot about teenage daughters, but this also works for teenage boys too. Teenage boys can be drama kings. But I talk about mothers and daughters because it tends to be a little bit more where the drama kind of happens. But yeah, so you can find all of that at ColleenO'Grady.com. I do